Have you ever felt like you were being watched? I mean, really watched? In the sleepy town of Blackwood Creek, everyone feels that way. It started subtly. A flicker on a security monitor at the local grocery store. A grainy figure standing just out of focus on a doorbell camera. Nothing you could put your finger on, just odd. Then, old Mrs. Gable passed away. A peaceful end to a long life, the whole town agreed. But the next night, she appeared on the security feed of the bakery she'd visited every morning for 50 years. Just standing there, outside the glass door, looking in. The baker, a young man named Tom, thought it was a prank. A cruel, tasteless prank. He checked the street. Empty. But on the screen, there she was, as clear as day, her floral dress swaying in a non-existent breeze. Panic didn't set in overnight. It crept in, like the fog that often rolled over the creek. More people started seeing things. Mr. Henderson, the high school history teacher who'd had a heart attack a month prior, was spotted on the library's cameras, wandering the aisles he loved so much. A young girl, lost in a tragic accident years ago, was seen on the playground swings, her image frozen in midair on the park's surveillance system. They were ghosts in the machine, specters trapped in a digital purgatory. They never interacted, never moved things. They just watched. The town tried everything. They unplugged the cameras, but the images would burn into the blank screens. They smashed the monitors, only for the figures to appear on new ones. It was as if the town's digital eyes had become a window to the afterlife, an afterlife that was eerily close to home. Soon, no one dared to look at their screens. Doorbell cameras were covered with tape. Store owners turned their monitors to the wall. The constant, silent observation from the departed was maddening. People started to wonder, who were they watching? Us? Or were they trapped, forever replaying their last moments, their last familiar places, hoping someone would see them? One night, a teenager named Leo decided he'd had enough. His older brother, who had died in a car crash the year before, kept appearing on their home security camera, standing by the driveway. Leo couldn't bear it anymore. Armed with a baseball bat, he walked out to the camera mounted on the garage. He stared into the lens, his heart pounding. "What do you want?" he screamed into the night. "Just leave us alone." On the monitor inside, his brother's image flickered. For the first time, one of the apparitions moved. It slowly raised a hand, not in a wave, but as if reaching for something. Then, its mouth opened, and though no sound came out, a single, silent word formed on its lips: help. The town of Blackwood Creek is quiet now. The cameras are all gone, ripped from their sockets. But the feeling of being watched has never left. People walk with their heads down, avoiding eye contact, because sometimes, in the reflection of a shop window or a puddle on the street, they see them. The lost souls of Blackwood Creek, forever watching, forever waiting. And you start to wonder, if you died here, would you join them? Would you become another silent face on a screen, just out of reach? If this story sent a chill down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Let me know in the comments what you think the ghosts of Blackwood Creek really want. Thanks for watching. My son, Leo, has a friend. His name is Charlie, and he lives in the corner of Leo's bedroom, right by the window where the moonlight never quite reaches. At first, it was cute. I'd overhear Leo from the hallway, his little voice whispering secrets and stories. Charlie says the moon is made of cheese, he'd tell me at breakfast, his eyes wide with wonder. I'd just smile and ruffle his hair. All kids have imaginary friends, right? It's a normal part of growing up. But then, the game started to change. I'd find Leo sitting in that corner, perfectly still, his back to the room. "We're playing the quiet game," he'd whisper, without turning around. Charlie doesn't like noise. The air in the room always felt heavy, cold, even on the warmest days. I tried to play along. "Well, can Charlie come out and play with us?" I asked once, trying to sound cheerful. Leo shook his head violently. "He can't," he said, his voice dropping to a hush. He's stuck. One night, I was woken by a scream. I rushed into Leo's room to find him sitting bolt upright in bed, pointing a trembling finger at the corner. "He's mad," Leo cried, his face pale with terror. I turned on the main light, flooding the room and washing away the shadows. The corner was empty, just a dusty floorboard and a plain white wall. "There's no one there, sweetie," I soothed, pulling him into a hug. But he kept shaking his head. "He says you're lying. He says he can see you." My blood ran cold. The next few weeks were a blur of sleepless nights. I'd hear faint scratching sounds coming from Leo's room, like nails dragging on wood. Leo stopped talking about Charlie, but I'd find him staring at the corner, his expression a mixture of fear and fascination. He started drawing pictures, stick figures of him and a tall, shadowy figure with long, spindly arms that reached the floor. In every drawing, the figure was in the corner, just watching. I decided I'd had enough. I was going to prove to Leo that there was nothing to be afraid of. That night, after he was asleep, I crept into his room and set up a small baby monitor, pointing it directly at the dreaded corner. I went back to my room, the receiver on my nightstand, and waited. For hours, there was only silence, the soft sound of Leo's breathing. I started to feel silly, letting a child's imagination get the better of me. Just as I was about to drift off, a new sound crackled through the monitor. A voice. It was deep and raspy, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. It wasn't Leo. "You think that little box will save you," the voice rasped, a dry, humorless chuckle following it. "I've been here long before your son, and I'll be here long after." I froze, my heart hammering against my ribs. The voice continued, low and menacing. "Go look. He wants to show you something." My feet felt like lead, but I forced myself out of bed and down the hall. I pushed Leo's door open slowly. The room was dark, but the moonlight from the window cast a faint glow. Leo was standing in the middle of the room, facing me. But it wasn't his face. His eyes were wide, unblinking, and a slow, unnatural smile stretched across his lips. He raised a small hand and pointed, not at the corner, but at the corner of my bedroom ceiling, directly above where I slept. And from the monitor on my nightstand, I heard the scratching begin again, closer this time. Much, much closer. I started my night shift at St. Jude's Hospital just like any other. The fluorescent lights hummed their usual dreary tune. The smell of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, and the distant beep of heart monitors was the hospital's steady, rhythmic pulse. My job was simple: deliver late-night meals to the patients. I'd been doing it for 3 years. I knew every floor, every wing, every shortcut. Or so I thought. Around 2 a.m., I was making my final rounds. I had one last tray for a patient named Arthur in room 1301. I wheeled my cart to the main elevator bank and pressed the button for the 13th floor. The door slid open, and I stepped inside. But as the elevator ascended, I noticed something odd. The buttons went from 12 straight to 14. There was number 13. I chuckled to myself. Of course, the old superstition. I must have misread the chart. Maybe it was room 1201 or 1401. I checked the slip again. Nope. Clear as day. Room 1301. Confused, I took the staff elevator at the end of the hall, the one we used for laundry and equipment. It was old, creaky, and rarely used by anyone but janitors and us grunts. Inside, the panel was ancient. And there it was, a worn, yellowed button with the number 13 etched into it. My curiosity got the better of me. I pressed it. The elevator shuddered and began to climb, groaning in protest. It felt slower, heavier than usual. When the doors opened, I wasn't prepared for what I saw. This floor was nothing like the rest of St. Jude's. The walls were a sickly yellow, peeling in long strips. The lights flickered erratically, casting dancing, distorted shadows down the long corridor. The air was thick and stale, carrying a faint, metallic scent, like old blood. There was a profound, unsettling silence, broken only by a soft, rhythmic dripping from somewhere down the hall. My heart hammered against my ribs. This place felt wrong, ancient. But the room numbers were there, painted in fading black. 1300, 1302, 1304. I started walking, my rubber-soled shoes making no sound on the grimy linoleum. I found room 1301. The door was slightly ajar. Hesitantly, I pushed it open. "Arthur," I whispered, my voice trembling. The room was dark, but a sliver of moonlight from a barred window illuminated a figure in the bed. An old man, skeletal and pale, with eyes wide and unblinking. He was staring at the ceiling. A tray identical to the one on my cart sat on his bedside table, untouched, with food that looked like it had been there for weeks. "He doesn't eat much," a voice rasped from the corner. I jumped, spinning around. A nurse was sitting in a chair, shrouded in shadow. I couldn't make out her face, just the old-fashioned, starched white uniform. "He just waits." "Waits for what?" I asked, my throat dry. She chuckled, A dry, rattling sound. To be discharged, of course. We're all waiting. But the doctor never does his rounds on this floor. A cold dread washed over me. What do you mean? What floor is this? The 13th floor, she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Where they put the ones they forget. The ones who don't get better, but don't leave. I slowly backed out of the room, my eyes locked on the shadowy nurse. As I turned to flee, I glanced into the other rooms through their small glass windows. Each one was occupied. Patients, all of them still and silent, staring into nothingness. Nurses in old-fashioned uniforms sat vigil in the corners, their faces obscured by shadow. They were all just waiting. I scrambled back to the elevator, my hands shaking so badly I could barely press the button. As the doors began to close, the nurse from room 1301 stepped into the hallway. For the first time, the flickering light caught her face. Her eyes were hollow, empty sockets. Her skin was gray and translucent. She wasn't a nurse. She was a ghost. She smiled, a lipless, terrifying grin. "Don't forget your card," she rasped. "You'll be needing it for your rounds." The doors slammed shut. I never went back to St. Jude's Hospital after that night. Sometimes, I wonder if they ever found my card. Or if it's still up there, on the floor that doesn't exist, waiting for a delivery boy who will never return. Thanks for watching. If this story sent a chill down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the dark. Stay safe out there.